Hey guys, Palakik here, and this is the Engwe E26. Engwe's new E26 is a lot of bike for the money, and I don't just mean in its raw size. It packs the best features from a lot of their previous e-bikes, such as a very distinctive looking set of headlights, hydraulic disc brakes, a motor capable of over 28 miles an hour, and a very large 16 amp hour removable battery. Couple this all with a very distinctive new looking frame design that's very easy to step on and off if you get the step-through version. So let's get back to the unboxing and then take a deep dive into why I think the new E26 is probably the best value e-bike on the market right now.
As usual, the bike arrived mostly assembled, though largely hidden behind the massive wheels and protective padding. After clipping a few cable ties, I was able to see some minor damage to the paint caused by the loose cargo rack. A bit disappointing, but hopefully future versions will add some additional padding here. Next up, we have a smaller box containing an assembly manual, tools of dubious quality, pedals, a puzzling mystery item that I found to actually be a unique looking bell, and to top it all off, a large 3 amp battery charger. I apply a dab of blue Loctite to help secure the screws, and then attach the kickstand first. The massive 26 by 4 inch fat tires are up next, and I was excited to see large 180mm rotors equipped. I removed the protective dummy axle, and gently slot the axle and disc brake into the forks before torquing it down with the included wrench. Attaching the bars is pretty simple, and I take a moment to check the alignment before torquing down the 4-bolt clamp. Working my way back to the rear, I secure the fender mounts and tighten the cargo rack to the threaded seat stays. A taillight is mounted to the cargo rack, with included zip ties used to secure the cable away from the wheel. Finally, I position the large LED headlight above the front wheel, and thread a bolt through both the light and the fender mounting brackets. With everything assembled, it's time to charge up and prepare for our first rides. The frame-mounted battery is extremely quick and easy to remove for external charging, which is great if you can't bring your bike indoors. The battery also features its own power meter, and locks seamlessly into the bike when you're ready to ride. While charging, I took the opportunity to compare the size of a few of my other bikes, and it's pretty comparable to the X24. Sure, the tires are a bit bigger, but the two bikes match each other pretty well. On the other hand, the M20 is downright small in comparison. After a while, the battery is fully charged, so I pop it back into the bike to check out the settings screen. Thankfully, as with the X24, the E26 allows custom tuning of each pedal assist level by pressing and holding the plus and minus keys to access the settings menu, and then selecting parameter 3 to adjust the power percentage for each step. I also decided to adjust the handlebars a bit higher for a more upright riding position, which was easy thanks to the hinged riser stem. At this point it was getting pretty dark, so again I used the opportunity to compare the typical 250 lumen bike light with the impressively bright headlight on the E26, which I found was more than bright enough for night riding. The E26 is a very attractive design, and it's styled much more conventionally than most of Engwe's other bikes. It features a distinctive looking LED headlight and taillight for optimum visibility. Cargo capacity shouldn't be a problem, with a very beefy rear-mounted rack and provisions for mounting a front rack if you need additional cargo space. A powerful 750-watt motor effortlessly propels the massive 26-inch tires, and 180mm rotors with hydraulic calipers ensures it stops just as easily. On the human side of the drivetrain, we have a 7-speed Shimano tourney derailleur paired with a chainring large enough to pedal at high speeds. Nested in the center of the frame, a 48-volt 16 amp hour battery sits seamlessly inside the down tube, with a waterproof charge plug at the bottom left for in-bike charging, and a lock on the opposite side to release the battery from the frame for external charging. Speaking of locks, the front fork features a suspension lockout, along with a preload adjustment to fine-tune your ride comfort. Additional comfort comes from the new highly improved saddle, perched atop the suspension seat post. Finally, at the helm of this beast of a bike are a set of wide flat bars for optimum control. Working our way across the bars, we have our hydraulic brake levers, display and power controls, a very nice sounding bell, color LCD display, Shimano 7-speed shifter, and finally a twist throttle. The E26 ST is a wonderful casual cruiser bike. While large, the step-through version makes mounting the bike an absolute breeze, and the suspension seat post actually provides quite a bit of cushion. The front forks allow for quite a lot of travel as well, and while they feel a touch too bouncy, are more than adequate for soaking up small bumps. I was surprised at how powerful the motor felt, and it effortlessly brings me up even moderately steep hills. Descents were also very well controlled, with very little effort from the hydraulic brakes on both asphalt and gravel trails, thanks in part to the oversized tires. The large tires effortlessly hop up and over curbs and other minor obstacles, while still feeling nimble enough to putt around tighter paths. Stepping up to higher speeds, I was surprised at just how fast this bike is, topping out at near 29 miles an hour. While it can go this fast, the bike feels a bit twitchy at these speeds. I never felt any bad wobbles, and smooth cornering is fine, but I attribute the oversensitive steering to the low amount of fork rake versus something like the X24. Now of course, this is entirely fine for what the bike is intended for, casual commuting and trail riding. The more conventional design of this bike means that it just feels right at home on the trail, even down to the pleasant sounding bell. I'm so happy Engwe opted for this instead of that stupid ass horn. After a day of riding around at around 15 miles an hour, I still had about half of my battery left after a 20-mile trip, and while I don't think it'll get anywhere near the advertised 87 miles of range, 30 to 40 miles should be no problem for most riders. Being as big of a bike as this is, it's still comfortable for shorter riders as well. My wife initially described this bike as intimidating because of its size, but after riding, her best description is that it feels normal, whatever that means. Her current bike is a Schwinn GX2, so I guess if you ride one of those, the E26 will feel right at home. While it's definitely a big bike for her, at 5 foot 6 inches, she has no problem mounting the bike or finding a comfortable setup, though she's probably about the shortest rider that I would recommend for this frame size. She had no real complaints about the ride quality or pedal assist, which are usually her biggest gripes, so the E26 passes the wife test with flying colors.
Alright, so what don't I like about the E26?
Well, first off, it's a bit too loud. I think for the use case of this bike, it would have been way better suited with road tires. The knobbies are fine off-road, but are very loud on pavement. This coupled with the hollow battery bay and fenders works like a tuning fork to amplify any vibrations. At cruising speed it's quiet enough, but under load it sounds like an RC car dragging a sheet pan. Additionally, I know that step-through frames aren't exactly known for their rigidity, but coupled with the leverage of the extra large tires, you can really feel the lateral flex on the frame. Likewise, you can feel the forks flex under heavy braking. Now this isn't really a problem, I'm just used to the double crown forks and full suspension of the X24, but it means I wouldn't really recommend any jumps or serious off-roading with the E26 despite the beastly tires. Light off-roading should be fine, and if you don't absolutely require a step-through frame, I would actually opt for the non-step-through version just for that little bit of extra rigidity. Finally, and unfortunately, my unit was defective, and in more than one way. When I first received the bike, the buttons for the display were actually damaged in shipping. Of course, Engwe would have sent me a new one, but I had to make a video, so I opted to just glue the plastic shell together. A more serious problem was the in-frame charge plug. I had been charging the battery outside of the bike frame, so I hadn't noticed this until I was almost done filming. But the charge port in the frame was completely dead. Upon opening the electronics compartment, I found that the leads to the charge port were completely broken off. A quick touch-up with a soldering iron and heat shrink had it fixed in under 10 minutes, but not everybody is capable of this repair. Thankfully, despite the bad solder joint, a blob of silicone held the wires in place to prevent them from shorting out, but this could have been potentially dangerous. I'm not sure if this is a QC issue or a fundamental flaw, but hopefully Engwe has this sorted out for the production units, as I know my particular bike was rushed to me as a review unit, and thus may not reflect final quality.
So after the problems I've had with it, can I still actually recommend the Engwe E26?
While I do think that my problems with this bike were an isolated mistake, any bike will eventually need service or repairs, and with many local bike shops just flat out refusing to work on bikes that they don't sell, you will eventually need to learn how to do basic maintenance. Engwe is very good about sending replacement parts under warranty, but it's often up to you to make the actual repair. For someone like me, the cost savings of buying a bike online is absolutely worth it. However, if adjusting a derailleur sounds intimidating, you might just want to pony up the extra money at a local bike shop.
That said, if you're in the market for a casual, friendly-looking, and easy-to-use bike that's very comfortable, it's really hard to pass up the phenomenal value of this bike at under $1,200. It really doesn't feel like Engwe compromised a whole lot at this price point, with the hydraulic disc brakes, fat tires, comfortable ride, and surprisingly powerful motor.
Just as the X24 has found its place as my primary bike, I think the E26 is going to be my wife's permanent bike going forward, making a great matching pair for all of our family adventures. If you're interested in any of Engwe's bikes, Please be sure to check out my other videos where I tear down and upgrade some of their previous models, and be sure to check out the links in the description for deals and offers on the E26. As always, thanks for watching and happy riding!